politics. In Texas, one of the country's most restrictive voting bills has stalled, at least for now. Lawmakers argued over Senate Bill 7 on Sunday as the state's House neared a midnight cutoff to give final approval. But just before the deadline, Democrats walked off the floor to block Republicans from pushing the controversial legislation forward. Matthew Watkins, managing editor of the Texas Tribune, joins us now to break down this bill and the potential impact that it could have on the state and perhaps certain lawmakers' income. We'll see. So let us start with what this proposed bill would do.
Sure. Well, the bill is, the bill that actually the lawmakers were considering is now officially dead, but it would have done a lot of things that would have made it harder to vote in Texas. It would have banned drive-thru voting, something that Harris County, the county around Houston, implemented last session. It would have added new voter ID requirements for absentee ballots. It would have increased penalties for, illegal voting or voter fraud. It would have made it easier for people to allege fraud and overturn elections if fraud is found in Texas. So a lot of kind of broad, wide-ranging things that, ultimately the broader impact would have been just a lot of new restrictions on the vote in Texas.
So there's 24-hour voting. There's drive-thru voting. That is popular with minority communities. They were used for the first time last year in Harris County. That county includes Houston, where President Biden won by 13 points. How does this bill potentially impact those different voting blocks in the state?
Yeah, Harris County is a big, important one. It's the biggest county in the state. It's massive. It was longtime Republican, controlled by Republicans until very recently. And when Democrats took over, they really changed things in how they ran local elections there and did a lot of initiatives that reached out to people who maybe have a hard time voting. The idea with drive-thru voting was, people who are sick or worried about the pandemic wouldn't have to get out of their cars and be in the room with someone. The 24-hour voting was for shift workers. There are a lot of people in Harris County who work on, in the service industry, but also in the oil and gas industry who work late nights, maybe couldn't get out to vote in those different hours. And basically what the state did is kind of pushed back on those efforts that had been enacted by the Democratic leadership there, basically saying that things need to be uniform across the state. A big one being Sunday. You can't vote till 1 p.m., early vote till 1 p.m. on Sundays anymore, which really gets in the way, of the Souls to the Polls efforts, where a lot of black churches, encourage people to vote after church Sunday morning and things like that. So yeah, a very aggressive effort to push back specifically against Harris County, a county that's been changing a lot recently and had kind of raised the alarm of Republicans in the state.
Matthew, I want to get to Governor Abbott's reaction, but first, just as a point of clarification. So you said the bill is dead, donezo. So does that mean that it would be reconfigured, slightly changed, then reintroduced, or because I thought maybe the walkout would put it in suspended animation, but it killed it completely.
So yeah, the legislative session in Texas ended yesterday. And all the bills that didn't pass up until that point are now gone. They disappear. But what Governor Greg Abbott has done is he has said he will call a special session. So that will basically have to start the whole process over. They'll have to draft it, pass it through the various committees and the House and the Senate and get it through. But the difference between a special session and a regular session is that there's fewer kind of strict rules and deadlines like the one that killed this one. And lawmakers are determined to bring this up. But they could conceivably change the law in many different ways if they want to. They can make it more strict, less strict, kind of depending on what their feeling, their desire is in the session. But it is worth noting that the leadership in both the House and the Senate are determined to come back, kind of rewrite this law and pass a version of the one that has already failed.
Matthew, educate our audience who may not be familiar.
So the governor.
Sorry, I just wanted to. Go ahead, Emery.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I was just curious because.
Well, I was just going to say.
Got a lot.
Okay, we're out of sync.
The pandemic may be
Vlad's
ending, but the technical difficulties that we sometimes have because we're remote still, they go on.
Listen, what I was just going to say is you mentioned that the governor was, talking about a special session. The other thing that he's doing is threatening to withhold the pay of certain lawmakers or all lawmakers. I don't know.
That's right. The governor has a line item veto in the budget, which means he can axe out certain payment things and, like certain lines in the budget. And basically what he has threatened to do is axe out the entire article, the entire section of the budget that funds the legislature. So that would mean the lawmakers wouldn't get paid, but it also means, the legislative aides, the people who, work in the Capitol to, in nonpartisan positions to, draft things, analyze bills, do all those kinds of things. And basically, what he's saying is that he will line item veto that entire thing. That would presumably be for leverage, right? So, basically bringing back a special session saying you have to pass out this bill and some of my other priorities that didn't get through during the regular session, and then I will allow you to kind of rewrite your own budget and get it through. But there are questions about whether that's something that he can be allowed to do. Of course, the legislature is laid out in the state constitution. So does he have the power to effectively eliminate all its funding? That's a question that we don't necessarily know the answer to right now.
So the question I was going to have, Matthew, was, for our audience who may not be all that familiar with Texas politics, is all of this a reaction to Donald Trump? Is it a series of local lawmakers, state lawmakers, who are Trumpistas, who are basically doing his bidding, or at least his administration? In other words, I'm trying to understand if this existed, this push to do what they're trying to do in Texas, has been an ongoing situation before Donald Trump, or it's in reaction to Donald Trump and his false claims of election fraud?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is both. There were definitely efforts before Donald Trump and before the 2020 election to make it harder to vote or add new restrictions. There was a very controversial voter ID law that the state passed. There was an effort in 2018 by the Texas Secretary of State to purge a bunch of voters from the rolls that ended up going very badly and ended up leading to the Secretary of State leaving office. But the 2020 election unquestionably put this at the forefront, and I think made the lawmakers in the state feel like they needed to do something. They were feeling pressure from their constituents, their voters, and the Republican Party to do something. And I think it's this law, or this proposed law, is definitely a reaction to that as well.
All right, we'll see what happens. Matthew Watkins, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.